In a competitive world, average won't cut it. The Success Launch Point shows you how to stand out, deliver massive value, and rise above the crowd. With on-demand courses, expert coaching, and a community focused on growth, you'll accelerate your career and your paycheck. It's time to level up. Check out modernobserver.com/launchpoint.
Gaza peace talks, the Biden administration spied on opponents, another French prime minister resigns, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. Talks towards ending the Gaza war began in Egypt. Yesterday, on the eve of the 2-year anniversary of the October 7th, 2023 attack that prompted the war in Gaza, Israel and Hamas started indirect talks in a Red Sea resort town to discuss President Trump's 20-point peace plan. Both sides are under pressure to agree to a ceasefire, but they are also believed to be far apart on key issues, including whether Hamas will disarm and the withdrawal of Israeli troops. Going into the discussions, Hamas said it would agree to release its remaining hostages in exchange for a release of Palestinian prisoners held by Israel, but those details are still being hashed out as well. The White House is pushing for the talks to move quickly, and the initial phase is likely to take several days. The government shutdown that began October 1st at 12:01 a.m. shows no sign of ending anytime soon, and some lawmakers now see October 15th as the real negotiating deadline, according to Politico. That is when active duty military members are supposed to be paid. Most federal workers will miss paychecks on Friday if Congress fails to reach a deal. Illinois and Oregon are suing the Trump administration over what they argue are unauthorized deployments of the National Guard to their states. In Oregon, a federal judge blocked Trump's activation of 200 state guard troops, then issued a second ruling stopping the administration's workaround, sending troops from Texas and California instead. President Trump said Monday he may invoke the Insurrection Act to deploy federal troops to Portland, calling ongoing protests there a form of criminal insurrection. The Insurrection Act permits the federal deployment of troops in extreme cases. Illinois filed a parallel suit saying the deployment to Chicago lacks a legal basis and is tied to limited protest activity near a suburban ICE facility. However, a federal judge on Monday refused to immediately block the National Guard's operations in Chicago. The Biden administration used the FBI to spy on its political opponents. Former special counsel Jack Smith was allegedly tracking the private communications and phone calls of nearly a dozen Republican senators as part of his investigation into the January 6, 2021 Capitol riots, Fox News Digital has learned. A document reviewed by Fox News Digital revealed that Smith and his Arctic Frost team investigating January 6th were allegedly tracking the phone calls of GOP Senators Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee, Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, Josh Hawley of Missouri, Cynthia Loomis of Wyoming, Bill Hagerty of Tennessee, Dan Sullivan of Alaska, Tommy Tuberville of Alabama, and GOP Representative Mike Kelly of Pennsylvania. The document, recently discovered by FBI Director Kash Patel and exclusively obtained by Fox News Digital, is titled Cast Assistance and dated September 27, 2023. CAST refers to the FBI's Cellular Analysis Survey Team. French Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu resigned after less than a month in office on Monday and less than 24 hours after naming a new government that prompted a key coalition ally to withdraw support. The move deepened the country's political crisis and left President Emmanuel Macron with few options. The presidency said that Macron, who has been hitting record lows in opinion polls, accepted the resignation. Le Cornu had replaced his predecessor, François Bayrou, on September 9th to become France's fourth prime minister in barely a year during a prolonged period of political instability. Le Cornu is now the shortest-serving prime minister in the history of the Fifth Republic, which started in 1958. The Supreme Court is set to convene Tuesday to consider a legal battle involving a Colorado law banning conversion therapy treatment for minors, brought by a licensed counselor in the state, which she argues unconstitutionally censors her conversations about gender dysphoria and sexuality with young clients. Fifth Third to buy Comerica as regional lenders consolidate. In what Bloomberg calls the biggest U.S. bank deal this year, Fifth Third said it would acquire Comerica for $10.9 billion in stock. The acquisition, expected to close in the first quarter next year, would create the ninth largest bank in the country with $288 billion in assets. The announcement sent Wall Street tongues wagging about whether a wave of consolidation could be coming to regional banking, as smaller banks look to compete with giants like JP Morgan and may want to take advantage of the Trump administration's more open stance towards big mergers. OpenAI and chip designer Advanced Micro Devices, AMD, announced a multi-billion-dollar deal that would give OpenAI up to a 10% stake in AMD if OpenAI deploys enough of AMD's chips. The agreement challenges the dominance of rival chipmaker Nvidia, which announced a $100 billion investment in OpenAI in September. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth Daily News Brief, as well as our sister podcast, Carnivore Radio, with news analysis and commentary, and the rest of the Xvadio Podcast Network at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcast app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.